Gary Williams here. Some friends of mine are making a difference in the community, and one of the ways they're doing that is helping to sponsor this podcast. Petroselli Homes Realty Group is a boutique brokerage service located in downtown Niles. They offer a personal and intentional touch to the home buying and selling market. They take the time to learn each client's story, much like this podcast, because to them, the first step in linking buyers to the home of their dreams starts with understanding and a great deal of trust. John and Jennifer Petroselli have had the honor of helping countless buyers and sellers make effective real estate decisions to plant their roots, raise their families, expand their wealth, or simply relax and retire. So if what I've described is what you might be looking for in a realtor, I suggest getting in touch with Petroselli Homes on Niles Boulevard in downtown Niles. Now, coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time. Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
Hello, Fremont. You are listening to episode number 8. First, I want to give a personal shout out to our sponsor, Petroselli Homes. Whether or not you're looking to buy or sell a home, they're good friends to have in this community. They have been here for decades and they know the housing industry well. Even if you're not a place right now where you need a realtor, you can follow them on social media and they provide tips and tricks for settling into your home, whether you own it or not. You should certainly find them and give them a follow. Or if you find yourself in Niles and are looking for a friend, just wander on down the street to their office across the street from the beautiful Flying A and drop in. Say hi. Tell them Ricky sent you. Also, we will have them here in an interview on the podcast in an episode in the next couple of weeks, so be sure to look for it. Also, I want to tell you, too, that you have been a great community. As we've launched out with this new podcast, you've embraced it and you've shared it. You've welcomed it right in as part of the community family. And I appreciate that. Keep sharing it. So far on the podcast, we have brought to you stories of people who have had a long established history in the community. But like so many of us who did not grow up in this community, we have been the first of our family to call Fremont home. We are new. But we are establishing ourselves here and now for the future history of this growing city. This is true of our guest today. Teresa Keng came to the U.S. and to Fremont when she was just a teenager. She found her way and now she is well established in the community as a business owner and a city councilwoman. She has a remarkable story. So you'll want to listen to the whole episode. Here's my conversation with Teresa Keng. Today, I have the privilege of sitting down with Teresa Keng, who is a local business owner here in Fremont. She's the owner of Milk and Honey in North Fremont, and she is also one of the council women on our county council or our city council, and she's part of District 1, I believe. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Teresa, I'm so happy. It's an honor to have you with me today.
Yes. Thanks so much, Ricky, for having me.
Well, I'm excited to hear your story and to get to know you a little bit more because from what I understand, you have a very interesting story coming to the U.S. from Taiwan.
Right.
And you came as a teenager, is that right?
Yeah, I came here when I was 15.
15,
yeah,
wow.
when I finished junior high.
Okay.
Over there.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? Tell us, you came over here, I'm assuming, with your parents from Taiwan. What brought you over here, and what was that transition like for you?
Sure. Yeah, so I actually, we had some relatives visiting us that summer from San Francisco. So they were staying with us. And then, it was actually my dad's uncle and aunt. And my dad was giving, the uncle some post-stroke acupuncture treatment.
Okay.
And then so, like after a couple months, they're like, oh, why don't you guys bring your daughters to the state to, go to school there? And then at first we're like, oh, that's going to be a lot. Well, they were thinking about, just the two of us, not me and my sister, staying with them, without my parents, because my parents have to work there, right? And then so they're like, are you sure it's going to be a lot of work for you guys and all that stuff? Because they're a little older.
Sure.
And then so well, after some back and forth, well, okay, maybe we can give it a try, put the school on hold there in case we have, have a fallback, right? If it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so just like me and my sister came here when I was entering 10th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That must have been quite the transition for you coming over here, getting settled in the United States, a new country. And then was there anything specifically that brought you to Fremont? What was it specific? Did your uncle live here as well then?
Yeah, actually, they were in San Francisco, but the funny thing is after a couple of weeks of staying with them, my dad was still here, but they decided that maybe it's not a good fit. So it is a lot of responsibility to watch over two teenage girls.
That's funny.
So my dad called up my aunt, my mom's sister in LA, and say, "Is it okay if the girls come over?" And
So you went down to LA. Down to LA.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, for the next year, my sophomore year.
Okay.
And then at the end of that year, my dad actually, came back and tried to kind of maybe set up a small business here so my mom can come here to be with us. So he called us and said, oh, guess what? You guys are coming back to the Bay Area. And we just started to make some friends there, Yeah, but so we came over and then we started at Newark Memorial.
Okay.
But the business, small business is hard. So
Sure.
They don't know the area well. And so after a couple months, my mom went back to Taiwan as well. And it was just me and my sister in an apartment, 5 minutes from school.
Wow, that's crazy. Kind of to think of you guys coming over to the United States and only being here for a couple of years, and then to be on your own after that. That's wow. That must have been an incredible experience for you.
Yeah, so of course the school didn't know that we didn't have any adults at home. So and but we were good kids. We were going to church here actually in Fremont. So I was actually hanging out in Fremont a lot more than in Newark. I was going to CPC, Centerville Presbyterian, across the street from the DMV.
So you had someone watching you at least. Someone keeping their tabs on you.
That's right.
That's good. That's good. So then you graduated from high school, and then where did you go after that?
Yeah, so I actually I was very happy to get into UCLA.
That's great.
Yeah, I actually one day at New Memorial, the school counselor called me to the office, and I thought I was in trouble, and then he said, "Oh, your SAT math score is the highest score in the school history."
Wow.
And I'm like,
wow.
oh, wow, okay.
That's incredible.
I'll take that. Yeah. So, and then, so I went to UCLA and then, but like during school breaks, I would come back to the Bay Area and I would be staying at church people's homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of kept that connection with the Presbyterian church up here then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. And what was your degree in at UCLA?
Yeah, so I studied business econ in college.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then at what point did you open your restaurant? Because that's actually where we're recording right now is in your restaurant, Milk and Honey. When did that come into play? Did you open that shortly after you got out of college, or was it a while later?
It was much later. Actually, it was only 6 years ago. So since then, fast forward many years, I was working. I was actually came back to work in Fremont.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was a sales manager at a company, and then but I met my husband 6 years after that, working there.
Yeah.
And he's actually, he grew up in Fremont. He went to Washington High School, and then he was actually a Marine veteran.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great.
So we met here, and then, we started our family here, and then have 2 kids. And I was actually a realtor before at that time. Yeah.
Okay.
And when we were opening the restaurant because we were always like looking for like Taiwanese food. We're both, from Taiwan. Taiwan, and then sometimes we would even go down to LA to for authentic Taiwanese food. And then so he's like, why don't we open our own?
Well, that's great.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's an engineer, and so I ended up at the beginning it was you have to be hands on, here
Oh, it's a lot of work at the beginning.
Right,
Yeah.
12 hours a day.
Wow.
Yeah, so I couldn't do realtor work anymore. So,
Okay.
so yeah, and then since then
Okay.
this
Well, I
is
was
my
here the
primary
other
work.
day and had some of the food, and it was great. I love it, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who found your restaurant to be a great place to come and eat. So that's great. But then all of a sudden, so here you are, a young girl from Taiwan moving to the United States, finally settling in Fremont, and then all of a sudden you make a big change and turn toward politics. How did that happen? So from what I understand, you're as part of the city council. Mm-hmm. There are six spots. So and you're one of those 6 spots on the city council. Tell me a little bit about that and how you got into becoming a city councilwoman.
Okay, yeah. So actually, I never thought that I'd be in politics or ever run for office. And so in 2018, when Fremont went into district election, so we're in North Fremont is District 1, and at that time, District 1 didn't have a representative on the city council for 12 years, right? So we were feeling a little neglected, it's like, hello, are we here?
Yeah.
And then so my husband actually looked to me and say, I think you'll be perfect for this position.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, what
so
does
your
that mean?
husband was your first nomination. That's a
Pretty much.
That's a good sign.
Right. Yeah, you definitely need a family support.
Sure.
For this endeavor.
Sure. So he suggested that you would be a good fit for that seat, and then you just did it. You just put your name in and ran for the spot.
Well, I thought about it for a few months before I actually I made the announcement on Facebook.
Okay.
Then so I think what he saw was, I have been very active, in church serving,
Mm-hmm.
in different positions from Sunday school teacher
Mm-hmm.
to youth counselor, just probably
already
everything.
Involved in the community and serving people.
The seniors.
Yeah.
So especially the seniors have a huge a special place
in
my
your
heart.
heart.
Yeah. Because, the people that were helping me
Mm-hmm.
when I came as a teenager, they're now seniors, right?
Yeah.
So kind of we have a saying where, you take care, how did that go? Like the seniors are your senior,
right.
in the community are your parents and your
Yes.
grandparents,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, and then the children are your children too.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. So, that's
great.
kind of how I step up and, it's kind of just serving the community, representing.
Yeah. So that, and I think that's wonderful. I think that for somebody to run for a specific spot in a political, chair or something like that, I think it's one thing for somebody just to have in their mind, I want to be a politician or I want to do something, but to actually be already invested in people's lives and already invested in the community, and then just to follow up and say, well, I think this is another good way for me to do that. I think that's really good. So I'm curious, you said that District 1 was kind of the neglected district for a while. There wasn't at the time. Now it's now there's more attention given to it. So I'm just curious, what were some of the things when you considered going on to city council? What were some of the changes, or what were some of the significant things what were the things that were important to you that you wanted to make a difference in the city when you ran for city council? Right.
So, I think that, in Fremont, we all know, we became such a diverse community, speaking many different languages, we have, share so many cultures. And, a lot of the times we're kind of celebrating these holidays within our little group, but not with everyone else inviting people.
Yeah.
And, but then you start to have more, those gaps and misunderstandings when you're not interacting with each other. So, funny you asked, this coming Sunday, we just had kind of the beginning of the Lunar New Year celebration, right?
Yeah.
Yes, of the tiger. And then, so we really don't have like a citywide, like kind of like a public event where it's like open to the public to celebrate Lunar New Year. So this coming Sunday, I'm actually hosting one
That's
at
great.
the downtown event plaza.
Well, tell me a little bit about that because quite honestly, it wasn't until I moved to Fremont and was surrounded by more of an Asian culture that I even really paid much attention to the Lunar New Year. I just remember the first couple of years that I lived here, there were fireworks and stuff going off at a really random time in the middle of, February or whenever it was. And I'm like, what's going on? Yeah.
Right.
And I finally realized that there's a Lunar New Year. And I think it's just because I wasn't really close to people who celebrated or paid attention to it until I moved to Fremont. So tell me a little bit. So if you're helping me understand a little bit more about Lunar New Year. What is it that explain a little bit to me and tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing at your party to help me know how you would celebrate that.
Yeah. So, there's like the 12, zodiac animals.
Right.
So this year is the year of the tiger.
Okay.
And so, like every animal kind of, represent different, qualities and so
I do know that I am the horse. I'm a horse. So
really, I'm a rabbit.
Okay.
So rabbit is kind of like usually not confrontation, like more peace loving, like laid back. Yeah,
Right,
but then I think it kind of people see me as like friendly and like when they come into the restaurant, I have like it's a very family restaurant, and then we have this sitting area with a lot of like stuffed animals and stuff like that. So it's like because like when my kids were younger, we would take, especially my kids are both on the autism spectrum.
Okay.
Yeah. So like there's sometimes many restaurants are not so kids friendly, and then
Right.
and then or like they have food where it's like there's not much selection for the children or the healthy selections, right? So anyway, back to the the Lunar New Year. So like we're going to have like kung fu demonstration. We're going to have some Chinese instrumental performance.
Okay.
And so these are like beautiful music, and then we're going to have like the. Are you familiar with the Diabolo? So it's kind of like a Chinese yo-yo.
Oh, yeah.
Like you can,
I actually used to be able to do that.
Oh, no way.
So I saw someone doing that. Where was it? I can't remember. I saw somewhere, maybe it was a street performer or something somewhere, the Diablo, and it's two sticks with almost like this yo-yo, like loose yo-yo thing in the middle.
Yeah.
And you can do different tricks.
And you can toss it up and catch it.
I used to be able to do that.
Wow,
and I haven't
impressive.
done it in years, but that's great. That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah. And then we have like about 10 booths of different like arts and crafts that where children can participate and have some like hands-on, make some craft or like making maybe like a lantern, different crafts that they can take home.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I think
Very
it would,
cool.
you have some like hands-on experience.
So you're hosting one of these this Sunday.
Yeah.
And then maybe in the future, as we start thinking down the road a little bit, maybe we can find ways to open these sorts of celebrations up more to the community. Because I think you're exactly right. I think everyone enjoys being a part of their own personal community, the community that they're familiar with. And I can imagine, I can see that too. I can see how celebrating a holiday that's special to you can really just kind of bring you back to a place of memories and a place of familiarity. Right. But I think that's one of the things that is also important in helping to try to bring the community together.
Yeah.
Is to say, well, share your memories or share your celebration with us so that we can enjoy it as well.
Right.
So that's great.
Yeah, because like pre-COVID, like a few years back, we actually, I was at this, they call it Holi, it's an Indian, festival. So they throw colors.
I actually went to that.
In Mission San Jose High School.
Yeah, the one right before everything shut down for COVID. I had some neighbors that invited us to the Holi Festival. And I got covered in chalk paint or whatever it was. I was
like
very colorful.
Powder. Right. Yeah. So I think it's like you see so much joy, from the people who are hosting, it's like part of their culture, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that being able to be a part of these different cultural events and stuff with each other is a really special thing. And it's something that we can do here in Fremont that a lot of other places won't have the same opportunity to do. So that is something that's very cool.
Yes.
So helping to bring the community together as part of the city council, and then And then I'm just curious too, because it seems like there's parts of Fremont, maybe people who have come from other countries that don't fare as well here as maybe they would as other people who are like directly connected to, say, the tech industry or whatever. And so there might be some hurting families, or there might be hurting people and stuff like that. Is there anything that you've experienced, or anything that you have seen in our city that you would like to try to make better for, say, the general population and maybe some of those hurting areas?
Yeah, sure. Well, one example is, I came from a family with domestic violence.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of like, growing up, we thought, everyone, every child gets beat up in their home and things like that.
Yeah,
but then
you just kind of assumed that was the norm.
Right. I
Wow.
mean, actually, we got hit on the hand at school too.
Okay.
So it's not just that. So
you
not
thought it was everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But then at home, we have like kind of similar, ways of discipline, right? And then, so like coming here, and then my parents were fighting all the time. My dad hit my mom a couple of times, and I think, I used to kind of almost blame my mom for not walking away, and then, but a lot of times, that cycle of violence is hard to break, right? And the victim's children, usually a lot of times become another victim or another abuser, right?
Yeah, because that's the model that's set for you. That's the way you understand life.
That's why you grew up. Yeah, how you grew up. And so, I actually, have been to therapies and, things like that to kind of help me grow from the past. And then, but, now I've been involving, helping out. We have a local organization here that it's called SAFE, Safe Alternative to Violent Environment.
Okay.
So I try to help out when I can, and then just like when people would contact me and ask me, who they have a friend, or sometimes it's themselves, but they are saying, they're disguising it. I have a friend.
I have a friend. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then, so, I would make those referrals and, pointing them to where they can find help.
Well, that's great. It's good to know, too, for people who might be listening to this this episode, to know that the city actually has a program set up for people who might be going through a situation with domestic violence or something like that. So SAVE, SAVE, and that's great.
Yeah, it's actually an independent organization that's been around for a few decades in Fremont. But they have a safe house. They have counseling, have hotline.
Okay.
Yeah, so definitely, like people actually don't know that 1 in 4 women have.
Wow.
Yeah, something
1 in
like
4.
that.
Wow.
That number, have experienced domestic violence in their lifetime.
Wow.
So
well, I'm really thankful that is something that's on your radar, and I'm not thankful that you had to go through that on yourself in your own house growing up. But I think that's great that that's something that you're aware of, and that you can connect with people on that level. So I think that's really great.
yeah.
But it sounds like you have other things in the future ahead of you that you're looking forward to. So tell me a little bit about what's in the plans for your future here.
Sure. Yeah, I actually I have decided to run for the California State Assembly representing Fremont, Newark, Milpitas, and North San Jose. So, actually, we just finished redistricting, which, after the census. So actually, before this redistricting, currently Fremont is split into 2 assembly districts.
Okay.
And we became low priority for both, right? For either district. But now, Fremont is in 1 district, in District 24.
Okay.
And currently, right now, I'm the only candidate from Fremont.
Wow.
So in
Nice.
the race of, I think, 5 or 6 candidates.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, that puts me in a good position. But, definitely want to hear from everyone, what your concerns are. Like right now, a lot of people are concerned about crime, like a lot of smash and grabs. And I'm a small business owner myself.
Absolutely.
And we had 4 break-ins.
Yeah,
since
well,
the
I know
pandemic.
that it wasn't a full break-in, but I know that even last night there was a rock thrown through, or tried to be thrown through the front door of Bon Appetit down here,
Oh, my gosh.
just down the street a little ways here.
Yeah.
And I know that there's been a number of smash and grabs like that.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, definitely keeping that as something on the top, priority to be able to give attention to that.
Right. And then, what actually kind of got me thinking about, that, running for the assembly was throughout the pandemic, my family went through a lot of struggles. My kids didn't do well at all. Like during distance learning,
Yeah.
1.5 years,
difficult. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
being a restaurant owner, we really had our fair share of struggle as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are still struggling. And when I saw that, our schools are trying to get the kids back to school, but we couldn't open because the HVAC systems are 50 years old, right? They can't do the job.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then you see how like the schools and the teachers they're kind of like, they're kind of fighting for the same, little pot of resources, which is not enough, right? And then like the students are the one, kind of getting the short end of the stick.
Right.
But then, when I look at it, I'm like, well, why do we not fund our schools enough so that everyone, can get the resources they need, right? The teachers can get paid a good
a livable wage.
Yeah, a livable wage, right? And then, if you're asking them to work more hours, you naturally need to pay them more.
Yeah.
And then, like we see, like some of the buildings are almost like falling apart, right? So
I have a feeling that we'll probably, and I understand that COVID has affected everybody at every level, but I have a feeling that we're going to look back maybe in 10 or 15 years from now and we will realize that there were some decisions we could have made differently that have affected our students, and even our teachers, our education system, and I think keeping that as a priority is really great.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. And then like when I looked at it and I saw why our schools not being funded, right, and then And then I saw how, California schools are actually among the lowest ranked in the country.
Wow.
Well, we're like, fifth largest economy in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, just doesn't add up.
Yeah.
And, so I actually enrolled myself I got into the doctoral program of education leadership at San Jose State last summer.
Wow.
Yeah. So, trying to kind of study better, get to know better how our education system, is built, and then how, where we can make the biggest difference in the shortest time.
Well, I tell you what, I can't imagine someone who is better qualified than to do what you're wanting to do by being a part of the state assembly and representing the city of Fremont, because you represent so many who have moved here from other countries, who have found this to be their home. You've had to work in the regular workforce. You've actually started your own business. And then you can connect with people on so many different levels. I just think that's, and you didn't even stop there. Like, you were pursuing your doctorate to even put you in a position to be even more qualified and to better serve our state and to serve our city. So I appreciate that so much. That is really great.
Yeah. And then, anyone that wants to talk to me or learn more about me, or, tell me your concerns about, your community, you know where to find me.
Right, yeah. Milk and Honey down on Fremont
Boulevard.
Fremont Boulevard. So real quick, tell me, when is the election? When are we able to vote, first of all, as Fremont citizens?
Of course, yeah.
And
All of
Fremont, yes. And then when is the election?
Yeah, so the primary is on June 7th, but you should be getting your ballots at home in sometime early May.
So Teresa Keng, local city councilwoman and business owner, is the only representative from Fremont to be running for state assembly. So I hope you have the best experience, and I wish you the best in that.
Thank you so much.
So, well, I thank you so much for being on the Fremont podcast. It really is an honor to have you here. It's an honor to meet you, and I look forward to seeing how things progress down the road from you, and hopefully we'll see more of you in the future.
All right. Appreciate you. Appreciate the Fremont podcast.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You've been listening to the Fremont Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, leave a kind review so that others can find the podcast. To stay connected with us, you can find links to our social media and other content at thefremontpodcast.com. This episode was hosted, edited, and produced by Ricky B. Music provided through Soundstripe.com. I'm Gary Williams. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
Muggins Media.